In this video, just going to look at these underbody rust treatment products I've used from Bilt Hamber and Lanoguard, and specifically look at the Bilt Hamber Dynax-UB because with this product it does vary depending on what container you buy it in. So on the left here I've got a 10-year-old Land Rover Discovery 4 and this has done 109,000 miles. And it was pretty rusty underneath. Let me just get my torch on it here. That fuel tank in particular was really rusty and the main chassis was rusty. I do wonder whether the previous owner had a boat because it was rustier at the back than at the front, so I wonder whether this has been reversed into water. But anyway, I'm going to go through how I've treated this and show you the products I've used and what I've found. 90% of the viewers of this channel are not subscribed. I'm sorry to ask, but it would help greatly if you would. Just press the subscribe button. It's free and it shows YouTube you like this sort of vehicle related content. If you want to be notified when new videos are released, please click on the bell button also. Thank you, it really helps more than you would imagine. So the first product I used is Bilt Hamber Hydrate-80, and this is a good rust converter product. So I didn't clean the chassis underneath, instead I used the airline because that keeps it dry, and I blew all the dirt out with the airline. And then this is this blue substance and you just paint that on to the rust, leave it overnight, and that gives it a nice black finish and converts the rust, and then you can then do what you want with the metal, whether you paint it or in this case just treat it with wax. So this is a fantastic rust treatment product, but it is rather messy. You just slap it on with a paintbrush. As you can see, it goes black, and you will get it in your hair and up your arms and things. So it is rather a messy job, but well worth doing. Once I've done that and it had dried, then the next stage is to put some treatment on it, some protection shall I say, and previously I'd used Lanoguard. And this is an excellent product purely because of the ease of use of application. You've just got a spray trigger here and it is just so easy to apply it. So I've used this on many vehicles now. When I bought the set it came with two 2-litre bottles, and I've done 2 vehicles so far with this, so I didn't have too much left. I only had about a quarter of this bottle left. So I did use it on the Land Rover here, but I needed to buy some more, so rather than buying more of this I then tried Dynax-UB instead, which is a very similar sort of product but probably has a bit better rust corrosion properties with it. The issue I found though was applying it. So the reason why I like the Lanoguard is it is just so easy to apply because you've got a spray trigger here, and spraying it is the best way because you can get up into all the nooks and crannies and you can reach up. Well, the spray reaches further than you can get the trigger, and you can get up around the chassis and inside the cavities with it. It's just such an easy product to apply. You do get a bit messy, and if you're doing this on the ground without jacking the car up on a lift, then you're going to want to put cardboard on the ground. As you can see, that's sort of the drips I've got from applying some of this. So yeah, it can be a messy job, but using a spray trigger is key. Trying to paint this stuff like I found with this Bilt Hamber stuff, trying to paint it on with a paintbrush just really doesn't work. You can't get the coverage and you can't reach all the nooks and crannies. If you want to buy the Lanoguard, I've got a link in the video description below where you can get a discount on this stuff. But for ease of use, you can't beat Lanoguard with a tray sprigger. So as I'd run out of that, I then bought Dynax-UB, and initially I bought a spray can, and this is about the same consistency as Lanoguard, and you get 750 millilitres in the can, but it is a very large can, but you only get about that much product. The rest is the gas, and what this allows you to do is spray the product while the can is upside down or all sorts of angles. But 750 millilitres didn't go very far. So I found to do a Land Rover Discovery you really want to have 3 of these tins at least, maybe 5 if you want to do 2 coats. So this is very easy to apply. It's actually quite similar to using a hand trigger with the Lanoguard, and it's a very similar sort of consistency, but I just didn't buy enough of it. So I then bought a tin of it, which is the 1 litre, 1000 milliliter tin of the same product. When buying this in a tin, it's a very different consistency to the same product that is in the aerosol cans, which I knew and I was expecting that because the Bilt Hamber website says you paint this on with a paintbrush or a roller. But I wasn't expecting it to be quite so thick. It's actually very similar to the Lanoguard grease, and it is a sort of thick, greasy product. It is a little bit thinner than the Lanoguard grease, but for what I wanted to do, painting on the chassis and the bottom of the fuel tank, this just worked pretty well with this old paintbrush, as you can see. But I did get through it rather quickly. You do tend to brush it on too thick because it's quite a thick product. So I found this can be quite wasteful, and actually it won't last you too long. Because you're applying this with a paintbrush, I wasn't getting to all the nooks and crannies, and there's places where you just can't reach with a paintbrush, so I needed to buy some more product. So I ummed and ahed whether to buy a load of aerosol tins like this or go for their other product in the 5 litre bottle. And the website said that in the 5 litre bottle you can spray this on, but they don't provide the equipment. So again, this is a different consistency to the tin, and it's a different consistency to the aerosol can. So this is more of a liquid. So what I did is I poured this into the old Lanoguard empty container and tried to use the hand trigger, but this is too thick to go through the hand trigger. It's quite a bit thicker than what the Lanoguard was. So I've poured some into these little caps here. So this is the Lanoguard spray, and as you can see, it is quite thin, and that's why it sprays so easily. And then the Dynax-UB here from the 5 litre bottles is thicker. You can see it's making the cap even stick to my finger, and it is a much thicker product, and it just wouldn't go through the hand pump spray trigger thing here. So I emailed Bilt Hamber, and they said thin it with white spirit and that will work just fine, and that is what I've done. This is now about roughly 3/4 Dynax-UB, 1/4 white spirit, and that has come through the trigger just fine. It's a little bit thick possibly, so my next coat I'm going to water it down a little bit more and put more white spirit in there. But it's meant that I can use this hand trigger, and I've given it a good coating, and it's just so much easier to apply when you're spraying it. So I've given this a good coating. I've probably put too much on because, as you can see, it's dripping, and you're probably better off putting a fine mist on and building that up over multiple coats. But anyway, using the spray trigger is just so much easier, but it can be just a bit messy. But the key thing with these products is you've just got to get it on the metal, and that's why I like the Lanoguard, because it's thin, it's very easy to apply with the spray trigger, and you can get to all those harder reach places, whereas I was struggling with this and also this spray tin as well, because I found that that wasn't quite so easy to reach some places as the spray trigger and Lanoguard was. But anyway, using the Dynax-UB in this 5 litre bottle, thinned down with white spirit, works as well as this. I've just got to thin it down a little bit more. So in future my go-to product will be Bilt Hamber Dynax-UB. Just buy the 5 litre version. It's quite a bit cheaper than Lanoguard as well, but you've got to water it down and you've got to buy a hand trigger sprayer. But anyway, you can buy these on Amazon. I'll link to one in the description below, as I'll do the same for all the products I've used here. So you may have noticed I've got another product here, and this is Bilt Hamber Dynax-S50, and I bought this for spraying inside the cavities. So again, this is an aerosol tin, 750 millilitres, the same as the Dynax-UB, and this product is specifically for spraying inside cavities because it comes with this very long straw or wand, and on the end it's got a 360-degree nozzle. So you push that into any hole you can find in the chassis, push it all the way in, press the spray trigger down and then slowly pull it out, and that's going to cover the metalwork inside any cavities. The actual product in consistency and look is very similar to Dynax-UB. The website will have all the specs and why this is different, but in reality it's a very similar product. But I mainly bought it because of this straw, and that's allowed me to spray inside any box sections. On the Land Rover Discovery 4, obviously it is a very large vehicle and it does have a separate chassis, so there are quite a lot of cavities, and I've used one whole tin. Ideally I probably needed 2 tins, but anyway, 1 tin, I just about got one spray in all the holes I could find, but you really need to do it twice if you want to do a very good job. So if you're doing one of these cars, I would buy 2 tins of this stuff. So just to recap, Hydrate-80 is a rust converter product. I always have this on the shelf. I use this for all sorts of jobs. When I take nuts and bolts off or any bit of metal work on cars, I'm forever using this. So this stuff is very handy to have in the workshop. The Dynax-S50 is just for spraying inside cavities. When it comes to the Dynax-UB, in future I won't buy the aerosol tins or buy the 1 litre tin. I will just buy the 5 litre version and then thin it down with white spirit and use a hand trigger, or you could still paint this on with a paintbrush if you want to. That's going to be my go-to product in the future. The Lanoguard is an excellent product as well, purely because ease of use. So if you just want to buy a kit where you've got everything that you need, then the Lanoguard works very well. Apparently it only lasts about a year and you've got to do it again, but that isn't a problem in my mind because it's just so easy to apply, and it's not quite as messy as this when it's watered down. This is a much finer spray and it doesn't drip so much, and you don't get in such a mess using that as I was doing using this. If I was buying Lanoguard again, I probably wouldn't bother with the grease. This is a very thick grease and you've got to warm it up just to apply it with a brush, and there's limited places you can apply this, so personally I wouldn't bother with the grease. If you want to grease certain threads or pinch points, then you could just use normal grease, to be honest. So yeah, I found that to be a bit of a waste of time and a bit difficult to apply, but anyway, as I said, I'll put links to the Lanoguard in the video description below, and also links to all the Bilt Hamber products, both the Bilt Hamber website where you can buy direct, and it's also very handy to get the additional information and product sheets, but I'll also put links to these on Amazon as well. And then maybe in a year's time or so I'll do another video looking at the underside of this Land Rover Discovery 4 and see how well the Dynax-UB has coped with a British winter, and do an update video. Anyway, I hope you found that useful. If you have, please do click the thumbs up, that really does help. Do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.